Picture this. It is a Friday evening in late September. You step through a wooden gate into a courtyard that smells like wet stone and jasmine. Warm amber light spills through shoji screens. Inside, the polished concrete floor is still holding heat from the afternoon sun. The house is 500 square feet. It feels like 1,200. That is not a typo. This home has less than half the floor area of a standard 3-bedroom house, and yet everyone who walks into it says the same thing. It feels bigger than homes twice its size. The reason is not a design trick or a clever camera angle. It is a 2,000-year-old architectural principle that most American builders have simply never studied. And the total cost to build this? $75,000. Here's the wild part. The same steel frame that makes Barndominiums affordable is also what makes a 500-square-foot home feel like a luxury retreat. Before you write this off as a novelty, I want to show you exactly how the math works, exactly how the space works, and exactly where this design will fight you if you build it in the wrong climate. Here's what's coming. The courtyard concept and why it's cheaper than square footage, a full walk through the home, the real dollar breakdown that gets you to $75,000, and the honest trade-offs nobody puts in the brochure. Subscribe now, because this channel is the only place that shows you the math before it shows you the render. The courtyard concept. Here's the thing about square footage. It's the most expensive way to make a home feel spacious. Every additional room costs you foundation, framing, roofing, HVAC tonnage, and finished labor. But there's a cheaper lever, and Japanese builders figured out centuries ago with the Minka farmhouse, a modest timber structure built around an open-air courtyard, or sabanawa. The principle is simple. The human brain doesn't measure a home in square feet. It measures a home in sight lines. If you can see 30 feet in every direction, even if 15 of those feet are outdoors, your brain registers the space as large. Enclose that same 30 feet with 4 solid walls, and it feels like a box. This is also where wabi-sabi comes in, the aesthetic philosophy built around imperfection, asymmetry, and impermanence. A single weathered stone, an unevenly raked gravel bed, a maple tree that will look different every season for the next 20 years. Wabi-sabi doesn't try to hide the passage of time. It designs around it. That matters here because it means a courtyard doesn't need expensive, high-maintenance materials to feel intentional. It needs restraint. So instead of adding 700 square feet of conditioned interior space to make this home feel bigger, we're going to carve out an open-air courtyard that costs a fraction as much per square foot. No roof, no HVAC, no insulation, and let it do the visual work that 4 extra walls would have done at 10 times the price. The design walkthrough. You start a wooden gate, rough sawn cedar, no stain, left to grade naturally over the years. You step through it, and you're standing in the courtyard, not the house. Gravel underfoot, raked in loose parallel lines around 3 flat stones. A single Japanese maple grows just off-center, close enough to the shoji wall that its shadow moves across the screens as the sun tracks overhead. At dusk, the shoji screens glow amber from the light inside, turning the whole courtyard into a lantern. This is the first sight line, the one that makes 500 square feet start feeling like more before you've even opened the front door. Step inside and the floor changes to polished concrete, poured and finished as the final surface. No tile, no hardwood, no transition strips anywhere in the home. The ceiling overhead is warm cedar decking, exposed steel purlins left visible, unpainted. The south-facing wall is glass, floor to ceiling, sliding fully open, so the living room and the courtyard become one uninterrupted space. When that wall is open, you're not looking at a window. You're standing in a room with no edge. The kitchen sits along the north wall, open shelving instead of upper cabinets, matte black fixtures, under cabinet lighting that washes the concrete counter in low warm light at night. No upper cabinets means no visual ceiling. Another sightline trick, another few inches of perceived height. Behind a shoji room divider, the sleeping area is a low platform bed, close to ground, facing a single window that frames one thing and one thing only, a potted black pine. Not a view, a composition. The bathroom is small in footprint but not in feeling. A deep soaking tub set against a wall of frosted glass, positioned so you're bathing with a blurred silhouette of the courtyard maple in view, but with full privacy from the gate. Here's the cruel irony. The builders who skip climate-specific engineering to save you $12,000 upfront are the same ones whose clients pay $25,000 in excess energy costs over the next 8 years. This home works because every material choice is doing double duty, and we're about to walk through exactly what that costs and exactly where corners were not cut, why it only cost $75,000. Let's build this number from the ground up. The steel Barndominium shell, engineered trusses, structural steel frame, standing seam metal roof, comes in at a fixed price of roughly $22,000 for a footprint this size. Steel framing at this scale runs cheaper per square foot than stick framing because there's less labor-intensive on-site fabrication. The polished concrete slab, poured as both the structural foundation and the finished floor, costs about $9,500. Compare that to a conventional build, where you pay for a slab and then pay again for hardwood or tile on top of it. Here, the slab is a floor. The concrete floor isn't just a floor, it's a thermal battery. During the day, it absorbs heat. At night, it releases it back into the room. The architecture does a heavy lifting, which is why this home needs a smaller HVAC unit than a conventional home its size. Insulation and building envelope, roughly $6,000, using rigid foam board on the steel frame. Critical, because a steel shell without proper insulation becomes a radiator in summer and an icebox in winter. Glazing, that full south-facing glass wall plus the frosted bathroom glass, runs about $11,000, the single most expensive line item after the shell itself. It's expensive because it's doing the job that 4 extra walls of square footage would otherwise be doing. Fixtures, plumbing, and the kitchen build-out, about $14,000. Kept lean by using open shelving instead of full cabinetry and skipping upper cabinets entirely. Courtyard hardscaping, gravel, stone paving, gate, and the maple tree itself costs only about $4,500 because it's outdoor space with no conditioning, no roofing, and no framing. No interior partition walls beyond the shoji dividers means no framing labor, no drywall, no paint, no trim carpentry. Savings that don't show up as a single line item but strip thousands out of the labor budget across the whole build. Add it up with permits, site work, and contingency, and you land at a turnkey total of roughly $75,000. Now compare that to a conventional 1,200 square foot stick-built home designed to produce the same spacious feeling through square footage alone. Framing, roofing, drywall, trim, flooring, and HVAC size for double the conditioned space push that build past $280,000 in most markets. You are paying nearly 4 times the price for the same psychological effect that a well-placed courtyard delivers for a fraction of the cost. The honest trade-offs. This design is not universally correct, and I'd be lying to you if I said otherwise. Climate is the biggest limitation. This layout performs brilliantly in USDA zones 3 through 7, anywhere with 4 real seasons and moderate humidity. Take the same open courtyard to the Gulf Coast or coastal Florida, and that beautiful indoor-outdoor threshold becomes a humidity trap, pulling moisture and mosquitoes straight into your living room every time you open that glass wall. The shoji screens are gorgeous, and they are structurally simple, but they provide close to zero sound isolation. If you need a private phone call while someone else is cooking, you'll hear every word through that paper and wood lattice. The polished concrete floor is essentially indestructible and will outlast every other material in the home, but it is unforgiving on your joints if you're standing at that kitchen counter for hours at a time. Budget for a good pair of shoes or a well-placed rug. Wabi-sabi purists aside, resale is a real conversation too. This is not a home built for the broadest possible buyer pool. It's built for someone who values spatial intention over raw square footage, and appraisers, along with conventional lenders, can still be slow to catch up on smaller Barndominium builds, sometimes complicating financing compared to a conventional size home. These designs are not for everyone. If you're building in a mild climate with cheap energy and forgiving soil, you can ignore most of this. But if you want a home that feels twice its size at half the cost, and you're willing to trade conditioned square footage for a courtyard that the Japanese have been using for centuries, the 500 square foot Barndominium courtyard home is the most overlooked design in American housing. So here's the question for the comments. Would you build a full Japanese courtyard version or a hybrid, same principle, but with a covered patio instead of fully open-air courtyard for better climate flexibility? If this kind of cost breakdown is useful to you, subscribe. This channel exists to show you the real numbers behind designs the industry usually just sells you on vibes. Thank you for watching. And if you're ready for the next one, click the video on screen right now. YouTube thinks you'll like it.